All right, everybody, buckle up. It's a Tuesday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings alongside Jesse Cofield. I'm Emerson Latsier. We got a lot to get to in the next 55 minutes. Michael Lombardi will be joining us live this morning. What the hell's the holdup with Aaron Rodgers? He will try to answer that hard-hitting question.
He's still in a darkness retreat in his mind.
Yes.
Plus, the first pair of first four games tips off in Dayton. NBA picks. Top NHL DFS plays, and is a three-peat incoming on the PGA Tour?
Ooh, good question. But batting leadoff, though, a Tuesday tradition unlike any other. The Takeoff with DraftKings podcast host Jared Carrabis. Good morning, Jared. How are you?
Good morning to you guys. Good morning to you. You both look very beautiful today, very energetic. It's a wonderful Tuesday. What is the deal with Aaron Rodgers? Not to start off on football, but people keep tweeting me about Aaron Rodgers. What's going on with that?
Why are people tweeting you about Aaron Rodgers?
So do you know?
Because I'm out here, I'm tweeting about the World Baseball Classic, and then I'll get people being like, "Shut up, dude! Don't care, Aaron Rodgers." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers.
Jared, are you aware of the darkness retreat?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is.
So he said, like right around Super Bowl time, it was like making the rounds. He said he was doing a darkness retreat for 4 days, where he was going to literally sit in darkness with like no social media. He said it can induce hallucinations, blah blah blah. He said after that he's going to make his decision on what he's doing with his football career. Obviously, it's been a while since then. Still nothing. Reportedly, maybe going to the Jets.
He's going to end up going to the Jets. They're looking to sign Allen Lazard.
But like,
it's going to happen.
Could stay with Green Bay, could go to the Jets, could retire, and he's just leaving everyone. Like, Jets fans are like, what? Like, all the news is breaking, and it's like, we're reportedly close to a deal, but there's no deal. But so basically, he has the football world in a chokehold, and the Jets fans are having their own darkness retreat in their hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. My whole life has been a darkness retreat, but then you said no social media, and I was like, well, I guess I do darkness retreat every day, but with social media.
Yeah, I was going to say, some would argue that logging onto Twitter is a darkness retreat.
It was like a Hobbit-like enclosure that he was in, too. He went like into the ground. I don't know. Anywho. All right, so you have been dialed into the World Baseball Classic so far while people are bombarding you on Twitter about Aaron Rodgers. What's your favorite storyline been here?
So this pitcher for Nicaragua.
Yes, that was awesome.
He struck out Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, and Rafael Devers. And there was a Tiger scout in the stands and said, yeah, that plays. And he ended up with a professional contract with the Detroit Tigers. So that's a pretty cool story. There's a lot of cool stories, obviously, like the Czech Republic team, all of them having secondary jobs. Like there's teachers and plumbers and electricians that are out there playing in the World Baseball Classic. Team Australia, the gentleman's name escapes me, but they won a game in the World Baseball Classic, and he was talking about how much that meant to the country and how, everyone thinks of Australia, they think of cricket and not baseball, and how much that win and showing face in the tournament can mean for the amateur players back in Australia. So there's been a lot of feel-good, wholesome moments so far in the tournament.
Yeah, a lot of Red Sox players showing out in the WBC. So Sox infielder Yu Chang named MVP of Pool A for Chinese Taipei despite his team getting knocked out. You still have Devers, Hernandez, Verdugo, Yoshida. So you actually tweeted saying going from watching WBC games back to watching spring training games is like going from biker meth to NyQuil.
Yes.
So the question is, like, could playing in that more competitive biker meth environment rather than the NyQuil-inducing spring training help like jumpstart their seasons here?
So it's an interesting question, and of all the Red Sox players that you named, there's one that we didn't hear, and it's Jarren Duran. He's playing for Team Mexico, and he's on their bench for the most part. They've used him as like a pinch runner here or there, like a late-inning defensive replacement or whatever. But this is a dude that is very much, I would say, on the fringe in his career, not just this season. I mean, he was a top prospect a couple of years ago, obviously had a disappointing year last year. He put on 20 pounds of muscle over the offseason and then changed his swing. He's got a different swing path. He starts his hands in a different spot. And instead of, he was having a good spring with the Red Sox, and then he left to go play for Team Mexico, but he's not playing for Team Mexico. And Chaim Bloom was asked about this, And his response was somewhere along the lines of, I can't tell a player what they can or can't do when it comes to playing for their country. So he didn't really comment on, yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone if I were him. Like, like if this is a pivotal point in your career, you have the chance to either make a big league team, because let's face it, the Red Sox outfield, not exactly star-studded and loaded with talent. You could have competed for a center field spot here in camp, but you chose to go to play for Team Mexico, and you're not playing for Team Mexico. So is that moving you back a step? And it's definitely not going to put him in a position to win a spot on the opening day roster. Maybe he was told there's nothing you can do to win a spot on the opening day roster, so that's why he went to play for Team Mexico. Maybe he thought he was going to play more for Team Mexico. Who knows? But it is kind of interesting when certain players, and I made the point last night about these pitchers from USA just deciding not to go. It's like, all right, on one hand, I can understand you want to save your bullets for the regular season, but on the other hand, you've got Shohei Ohtani out there pitching for and hitting for Team Japan. He has a $500 million contract on the line if all goes well this season.
Each
a lot
week,
of money.
Yeah, each week we've been tackling division previews here. We've done the whole American League, dude. So you got to check out those previews right now with Jared. Steve Buchanan's on one of them as well. DK YouTube page. Let's start in the West here, in the National League. This is a division that I know you have a very strong opinion on. Two juggernaut teams. You got the Dodgers, you got the Padres. So LA is favored to win this thing right now, minus 115. Padres right on their tail, plus 120 there. What chance are you giving the Padres to overtake the Dodgers this year?
I'm picking the Padres. I'm looking at the Dodgers lineup and the rotation, and there are names there, certainly, but I don't want to say that they're hollow names, but they're definitely aging names, where if you look at the Padres names, they're more youthful. They're still in their prime years. I think Clayton Kershaw is so great that he's almost become underrated at this point, because he's still a very good pitcher, but he's not, vintage Clayton Kershaw. Arias is great. He's been pitching for Team Mexico in the WBC, but outside of that, I mean, like the lineup is not as lengthy as we're accustomed to seeing from Dodger lineups. There's not that length to it. I like the Padres lineup more. They're going to be getting Fernando Tatis Jr. back. I like the lineup even without him in it, the lineup that they're going to start the season with, and I like their rotation better. So, and I like their bullpen a lot too. I think the bullpens are almost a wash in a sense, but I do think that this is the year that the Padres kind of figure it out, put it all together, and overtake the Dodgers.
All right, what other team in this division can you see making a playoff spot? I mean, like making a run at a playoff spot. So, like, Giants are plus 185. You see that?
No, but I do see, like, people will be excited about the D-backs this year. I don't know what's going on in Arizona, but, like, the D-backs are a team that kind of, I guess you could compare them to last year's Baltimore Orioles in a sense, where it's like, we know they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're going to, like, be interesting. They're going to at least float around and give you the impression that you can't just roll through Arizona anymore and pick up a couple of wins. I feel like they're going to be one of those teams like Baltimore last year.
Your boy Torey Lovello still out there too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great guy, by the way.
Yes, that's what I have heard. Padres bringing in Xander Bogaerts, who I'm told is a great guy as well, Jared. So he's going to be playing short. I know this is a little painful for you. So they signed Manny Machado long-term, right? What do you think the future holds for Fernando Tatis Jr.? He's coming off that PED suspension, which I believe he still has about like 21 games to serve before it's completely wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're obviously going to see a lot of him in the outfield. It's not like he was some defensive wizard at shortstop where it's like, oh, man, I'm getting my spot taken away by someone else. I think I was more surprised that he wasn't moved. Maybe that's the maturity thing. Maybe it's the suspension that you'd still have to wear. But, I mean, if it's a 13-year deal, you're still getting plenty of Fernando Tatis Jr. if you trade for the guy. But then there was also kind of like the chatter in the clubhouse. Like, how many guys defended him after that? How many guys stepped up and said, oh, like he made a mistake, but he's our guy? No one. Everyone. I mean, there might have been one, and I can't remember who it was. But the clubhouse was pretty against their own guy. So I figured the writing was on the wall that they were going to trade him. Maybe it still happens somewhere down the road. But for now, he's an outfielder. And I don't think that he got all that money for his defense. He got it because he can hit. He got it because he's a very special player. So maybe because I interviewed him in the summer of 2021, and we talked about his relationship with Manny Machado and how he's, the veteran leader in the clubhouse and how he's like a big brother to him. And if Machado is now signed this extension and he's going to be there just as long as Tatis is, there at least is a path to right the ship. I would feel much differently if Manny Machado had opted out and was going into free agency and was going to go elsewhere, because now it's like, well, who's the guy that's going to rein in Tatis? Like, that becomes a big problem. But Machado's there until he ends his career. So I think that there's still a chance that Tatis kind of figures it out and gets his head on right.
All right, Padres and Dodgers are also all over the MVP odds. Juan Soto is the favorite at plus 550. Mookie Betts plus 850. Tatis Jr. on there as well. Freddie Freeman, Manny Machado in the top 10. Will the MVP come out of this division? And should Soto be favored over Mookie? Because, his votes could get cannibalized by his own teammates here.
Yeah, I mean, Juan Soto is one of the most talented players that I think we've ever seen in the history of the game. I think when you look at a guy like Mookie Betts, you look at the fact that he's really good at everything. Like, he's good at base running, defense, his arm, he can hit, he can field, everything. But Juan Soto is great at offense. I think that he's one of those guys that can absolutely put a team on his back and lead them to the postseason. So to answer your question, I think Mookie Betts should be ahead of Juan Soto. I think if Juan Soto were still on the Nats, then it would be a different story. I think Mookie would be the leader in the clubhouse there. I think it's mostly because he's on the Padres and everyone is super stoked about the Padres. But the second part of the question, if I think the MVP is going to come out of the NL West, I do, and I think it's going to be Manny Machado. I think that this is his year. Last year he finished runner-up. 2 years before he was third. It's his time. I mean, if everyone's excited about the Padres and all the focus is going to be there, if they win the division, you've got to figure Manny Machado is going to be top 3 in wins above replacement. He's a great defender, great offensively. He's going to be essentially the face of the most notable team in Major League Baseball. If they can win the division and Machado has a Machado season, I think that that's your guy.
Yeah, I don't think that's a super hot take, but you got a quick one about the NL West?
No.
Nothing.
Oh.
You got nothing at all. So it just
No
seems
hot take.
No hot take. It's going to play out the way that you are predicting it and that you have throughout this segment.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Before we let you go,
I am disappointed in you.
Jared, what's happening in podcast land this week? It looks like you had the Anik brothers on recently.
Yes, they were outstanding. So I think it was interesting because I'm in my 30s. Tyler, my co-host, is in his 20s. They are in their 40s. So we kind of just combined 3 generations of Red Sox talk. Like, they love Nomar, but they were seniors in high school when Nomar was a rookie. My first game ever at Fenway Park was Nomar's rookie season in '97. So I was 8. It was a very interesting conversation. We were all over the place in terms of, talking about the team now, talking about the team historically, all the different championships, our memories from them, and just having 3 wildly different perspectives for 2004. Tyler doesn't even remember it. That's why 2007 is his favorite championship, is because he doesn't even remember 2004. It's crazy. So I was in high school. They were obviously older. They were 10 years older than me. So it was interesting to see how we kind of all took in our Red Sox championships from different points in our lives.
A hot take-less Jared Carabas today on this Tuesday, the takeoff, which is
I'm
supposed
sorry,
to,
Emerson.
It's all right.
You know what?
He's not going to make something up.
Yeah.
That's what you're good at doing.
Authenticity, baby. I'm authenticity. If I'm not feeling it, it just can't come out like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure you got something cooking in there about the Yankees, but we'll talk about that at another time. Jared, thanks,
Garrett
dude.
Cole hates America. Garrett Cole hates America.
Okay, thank you. Very, very good.
And
there's the hot take.
there
as we
it
mentioned.
is. There it is.
Here's a hot take. I don't know if Alabama, the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament, will even make it to the Final Four because they've never done it in its entire program's history. And they have 5% of the handle right now.
Wow.
Look at this thing.
Yeah.
They have plus 700 odds. Houston, shortest overall, plus 550. 27% of the money coming in is on Houston. UCLA, Kansas, Purdue, those are your top 5 right there, guys. Julian Edlow, one of our NCAA March Madness guru, give us his pick to cut down the nets as well as play that he likes for the first 2 of the first 4 games.
All right, the bracket is out, and that means it is time to re-examine some of these futures. Now that we see every team's path, know who they have to beat to get to their ultimate goal. And my favorite play to win it all at this point is a team that I don't want to say didn't have my eye on, but that I didn't think I would have a national title future on not too long ago. It's Texas at 14-1. They won the Big 12 championship in style against Kansas. They're playing their best basketball of the season, veteran backcourt, but really what it means to me now is the path. And they're in Houston's bracket, and Houston is the overall favorite to win it all. So that creates a little value on everyone else. Houston is a team that hasn't played anybody in a long time, and I think that's going to show in the tournament. If they play Texas in a Elite Eight game, I think it gives Texas an advantage, and I don't even know if Houston's going to make it that far necessarily. So I like Texas to get to the Final Four, and once they get there, you got a good number on them to win it all. In terms of the first 4 games, I like the Wednesday card a lot better, but let's go quick on one on Tuesday. Pittsburgh, +2. They've been so good as an underdog all season, and they've been so good away from home all season. Even going against a stronger conference in the SEC, they should be alive in this game.
So Pittsburgh actually now +2.5. Odds and lines are always subject to change. So Mississippi favored by a little bit more now. We'll see how that shakes out, won't we, Emerson?
Certainly, we will. And
Certainly.
We're about to see how this 8-game NBA slate is going to shake out. We're going to dive into it right now. DraftKings contributor Gary and Thorne, RotoWire's Nick Whalen, hanging out with us for some zone coverage. So, Nick, you're going to cover the DFS side of tonight's slate. Gare Bear, you got the sportsbook side.
Yeah, so Bucks, Suns, marquee matchup on NBA TV tonight. Bucks on the second night of a back-to-back. Phoenix still without KD. So, Nick, how are you going to be approaching this from a DFS perspective?
Yeah, there are several things we need to consider tonight. Obviously, it's a back-to-back for the Milwaukee Bucks. They played late last night in Sacramento. We do not expect Chris Middleton to play in this game. Coach Bud essentially ruled him out after last night's game. So to me, one of my favorite plays from this game is Grayson Allen at 4,500. He's somebody I especially like to use when Chris Middleton is out. He's become a little bit three-point dependent, but in terms of values, somebody that you could kind of slide into just about any lineup. I like Grayson Allen at 4,500. We'll have to keep an eye on Brook Lopez as well. I don't think he gets suspended, but of course he was tossed from last night's game. Got into it with Trey Lyles. There's a chance, that the NBA could hit him with a 1-game ban. Again, I don't think that's the case. I'm okay with using Giannis here. If you want to pay up, I think he plays. I mean, Milwaukee has a 2.5-game lead over the Boston Celtics for the 1 seed in the East, with, of course, the Celtics losing to the Houston Rockets somehow last night. I think Milwaukee wants that 1 seed. I think they're going to push for it. Giannis wasn't dealing with any sort of lower body issue. It was something with his hand. So I think he plays. Then on the Sun side of things here, my favorite play is Chris Paul at 7,500. I think he might be the best dollar-for-dollar value at point guard.
All right, Garion, what are you keeping your eye on before betting this one?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Nick said, I'll just echo. I mean, both these teams on the second night of a back-to-back, I think that's probably going to affect Milwaukee's rotation more than it affects Phoenix's, just because they don't have as much wiggle room with no Kevin Durant, and trading some of that depth they did trade to acquire Kevin Durant. Chris Middleton, as mentioned, probably not going to play. Maybe you get some tired legs and some, wonky shooting performances with both teams. Like I said, playing for the second time in 2 nights. But really, I think that there's not going to be anything too shocking that comes out of this. I think Middleton sits, and aside from that, you're probably going to see everyone else available for this contest. But keep an eye out. We should probably see Milwaukee's injury report around 1:30. I would assume Phoenix's comes out at about 3:30 or 4:30. So if you do want to wait for those 2 things before betting, like an over, just making sure Giannis is in fact going to be in the lineup, that is understandable.
Gare Bear, your Raptors have played their best basketball at home. They've got a 4-game home winning streak that they're putting on the line when they host the Nuggets tonight. Just a 1-point home dog currently on the DraftKings Sportsbook here. Can they do it? Can they cover?
Doubtful would be my interpretation of this. I know Denver is also probably in the midst of its worst stretch of basketball of the season. They've had some very inexplicable losses, the Spurs being the most inexplicable. And there's a case to be made that if not for some questionable refereeing, the Raptors might have beaten the Nuggets in Denver last week. So I can understand why maybe that combined with the fact the Raptors are 9-3 ATS their last 12 home games. I can see why maybe some people would be on the Raptors tonight, but I really think this is just an opportunity to bet the Nuggets at almost a pick 'em against the team they are far superior than. Jamal Murray is obviously questionable with injury management tonight, so that could tilt the scales slightly in the direction of the Raptors if he does not play in this contest. But just with how porous the Raptors have looked so far in March, granted most of that was on a 5-game West Coast road trip, I have very little confidence that this team can beat a team as good as Denver. So again, this just seems like an opportunity to get the Nuggets at a very low number, which is not something you can normally do.
Nick, who are you looking to add to your DFS lineups from this game here? Jokic, the second highest priced player on the entire slate there at 11.6, $400 cheaper than the Greek Freak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually prefer Jokic to Giannis on this slate. And I know he didn't have a huge game by his standards against Toronto last week, but I think he has a higher upside. It's not a back-to-back situation for the Denver Nuggets, and they want to snap this 3-game streak, right? I think there's going to be some urgency tonight for this Denver team. And just over the last 2 games, those are both losses for the Nuggets. Jokic has 77 and 88 DraftKings points. So even when things aren't going well for the Nuggets, they tend to go well for Nikola Jokic. Gary had mentioned the Raptors' struggles on defense. Over their last 10 games, opponents are shooting over 50% from the field, including a league worst 42.4% from 3. Doesn't necessarily affect Jokic all that much. He's not a high-volume 3-point shooter, but should be a good indication for his assist total. And then on the other side of this game, I like Fred VanVleet at 8,400. He's been inconsistent this season, but the point guard spot is a big-time weakness for the Denver Nuggets. They have no guard depth off their bench as well. VanVleet coming off of back-to-back down games. However, prior to that, he had 48 and 57 DraftKings points, and that 48-pointer came against this very Nuggets team just last week. 21 points, 14 assists in that game.
All right, Nick, looking at the whole slate, like who do you want to pay up for here? 2 dudes going to be out of that 10K range. We've mentioned both of them, Jokic and Giannis. Either one of those guys who you want to spend the big money on?
So I'm good with Jokic. I would go Jokic over Giannis tonight. You're saving the $400. I just think he's in a better spot. We'll have to see if Damian Lillard ends up playing at Madison Square Garden tonight. He's questionable. The Blazers are on take watch at this point. He's on shutdown watch. We'll see how legitimate that calf injury actually is. I actually like Julius Randle on the other side of that matchup. He's at 9,900. Portland has been just a complete disaster. Second worst defense in the league since the All-Star break. Honestly, the big concern for me is that the Knicks are up like 25 in the third quarter, and Julius Randle only plays like 28 minutes. So that's the potential drawback there. But my favorite pay up is actually SGA at 9,400 tonight. I think you're getting a really good price for a guy who's well rested. He's obviously the engine of this offense whenever he plays. 14 free throw attempts per game, guys, over his last 7 games. And it's not just scoring. I mean, he scores, he rebounds, he hands out assists, he gets steals, he gets blocks. He has 14 more blocks than DeAndre Ayton this season in 2 fewer games. He has 7 more blocks than Bam Adebayo in 8 fewer games. So with SGA, even if you get an off night offensively, you know he's going to make up for it.
Gary, in 8 games, 16 teams, which one is your favorite to cover the spread?
Really nice segue from a player that Nick was talking about there, mentioning that the fear with Julius Randle is the blowout potential for the Knicks. I cannot wrap my head around the line of this Knicks-Blazers game right now. And I know I basically just come on here and tell people to bet the Knicks on the road. That's like my thing that I do. But really, this is more about the Blazers than it is the Knicks. I mean, even if we just want to forget about the spread entirely for this contest right now, Damian Lillard and Jeremy Grant are both questionable to play in this game. I mean, if Lillard isn't playing in this contest, the Knicks, I know there's no Jalen Brunson on their side, and obviously he is such a big part of what they do on offense, but the Blazers in the month of March have the worst net rating in basketball by a pretty wide margin, and they're not one of the teams that are actively tanking, or at least they're not doing it as well as other teams. So they've been so bad lately. The Knicks seem like they got back on track this weekend, beating the Lakers in a close game in Los Angeles. I just think the Knicks roll in this contest, and I am shocked this number is as low as it is.
All right, Nick, where's the value on this DFS slate?
Mm-hmm. Guys, I am just staring daggers at the Detroit, Washington, and Orlando, San Antonio games. I think that's where we're going to find most of the value. If you want to chance it on Isaiah Livers, again, you can. I was among the victims last night when he did absolutely nothing in that game against Indiana. But I think we need to consider his teammate, Eugene Amarui, at $3,800. I mean, casual fans have probably never heard of Amarui. He's from Oregon. He's on a 10-day deal. He's going to be popular after what he did last night. 17.6 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals in 32 minutes. I would also consider Corey Joseph at $5,300, especially if Jay Nyby doesn't play in this game. Jalen Duren at $5,500. And then in that Orlando-San Antonio game quickly, Jalen Suggs has quietly been really good of late. He's at $5,200. He's got 34 and 43 DraftKings points in his last 2 games. You could look at Devontae Graham at $5K on the San Antonio side. No Trey Jones, no Malachi Branham for the Spurs. And rookie point guard Blake Wesley for a true bargain bin option at $3,100. He was 1 for 12 from the field in their last game. However, he did play 30 minutes, and he still got to 17 DraftKings points. So if the minutes are there, should have a relatively high floor.
All right, Gare Bear, that's all the time we have. So enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much, Nick, because we have Michael Lombardi coming up next. Going to break down how things shook out on day 1 of NFL free agency, or what they like to call the legal tampering
Unofficial
period.
day.
Yeah, we're also going to dive into the Aaron Rodgers saga, which Le Batard and friends did just that yesterday.
I have enough information here. I'm going to go ahead and report it. Aaron Rodgers is a Jet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mike had it first, MRE.
Yep.
You're just
if you super followed, you would have known this 3 weeks ago. Just saying.
and you're saying it's finished and that Stugotz doesn't have anything to worry about, that it's all silliness.
Why am I so worried?
Yeah,
It's
just all the
technical
formalities.
stuff.
They've already moved money around. Like the compensation's been agreed to. It's just a matter of moments.
But can anyone find Bakhtiari? I mean, that is it. That's the key to the whole thing.
I think that's why he went to 4-day seclusion, right? To find his Bakhtiari.
Maybe this is one of those things, Stugotz, like when the big three came together down here, that it was like a foregone conclusion, right? But like, let's not officially sign anything yet, just so we can kind of move things around, bring in a piece here, there.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
Stugotz, I do believe that this is, whether it turns out to be a terrible thing or not.
It will be.
Whether it turns out to be Brett Favre, I believe, started 8-3, and then it all fell apart.
The best 11 games of my life.
And he was texting photos of his junk inappropriately to people. Yeah. But I believe that this right here, if they sign Aaron Rodgers, will be the most exciting thing of this kind that has happened to the Jets in my lifetime. That the Jets fan base is going to go into next season ignoring 40 years of we are hopeless and believing this is very much a final piece that fixes everything in the AFC.
They got Tebow, Dan.
Oh,
that was a big day.
That one time in the rain, too, where he was like shirtless and it was raining on him. Stu thought he had a quarterback.
Hubba.
I did. I mean, Dan, you're right, though. This will be the...
it's hard to build mass and be defined.
It will make the last 40 seasons
terrible. Because he retains a lot of water.
Yeah.
It's creatine, I think. I think it's creatine.
Yeah, Deca.
Mm-hmm.
The power of prayer.
But Stugotz doesn't trust it.
Well, I don't trust them. Why should I? I mean, we've had 35 quarterbacks since 1983.
How about Mike's reporting? Don't you trust Mike's reporting?
It's done.
I don't trust anyone when it comes to this team. No.
Look who just stole my take. I'm looking at FS1 right now. Lower third. Packers Jets deal for Rodgers. Essentially done. Report. They're already running with it.
It's not done. It's been essentially done for a week.
Yeah. Colin Cowherd stealing my stuff.
He won't say yes.
With a graphic that reads Pack mentality.
That's good. It's a good graphic, actually. It's a good one. Because he's leaving the Packers, Dan, right? But he's going to the Jets.
We could have gone green with envy.
Oh, Mike's on one, too.
But wait a minute. Packers-Jets deal reportedly or essentially done doesn't tell us much of anything. He's got to say yes.
Packing it up.
The deal being done doesn't make it him agreeing to the deal. He's got to agree to the deal. Not the Jets and Packers can have essentially done the deal. He's got to say he wants to do the deal.
No.
Oh.
No?
No.
Okay.
No?
I appreciate the conversation.
You're welcome. Done deal.
Yeah, he's got to agree to some restructuring. You would think it's a massive amount of money.
Welcome back to the Sweat. Jesse and Emerson here, and now we are joined by former NFL executive, host of VSiN's Lombardi Line. Michael Lombardi here with us digitally. Thank you for joining the Sweat. Michael, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, and it's an appropriate name for the show. When you do it with Emerson, you're always sweating because you have no idea what he could possibly ask or where he's going. So, Jess, it's good to see you, and we'll decide at the end of the segment how good it is.
Yeah, thank you.
man.
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm scared every moment of every day.
I love and miss you as well, Michael. And I know Jets fans right now would really love it if Aaron Rodgers would finally decide that he's going to play for them or retire or stay in Green Bay. What's the latest you're hearing on this dude? Why is he holding everybody hostage here?
I think he likes the attention. But look, I mean, if you're a Jet fan, you just know there's 50 million reasons why he wants to play football this year. So just relax. I mean, the Jets wouldn't be making all these moves if they were going to get left at the altar. I mean, this isn't The Graduate where someone's going to sweep the bride off their feet right at the last moment. Their competition is just the Jets. And, they're in this, and they're trying to sign Lassard, which gives me an indication that Aaron gave them some instructions on what he would like as part of their team. And they're going to go fulfill those instructions as they kind of come together on a deal. I think this is all about money. I don't think it's about do I want to play or not. I think this is all about how we structure a deal.
All right, well, Jimmy G signs with Las Vegas. He's reuniting with Josh McDaniels. Obviously, these two have history. How does Garoppolo fit into this system compared to Carr? Like, is it just a better fit here?
Well, I think, Jimmy hasn't played for Josh in, 6 years now? Mm-hmm. So the system's a little bit different, and there's been an evolution of the system. But from the core, I think Garoppolo gives Josh McDaniels and the Raider organization a leader, somebody that they can really kind of gravitate to. Jimmy's one of those guys that one of the reasons we drafted him in New England was because he wasn't intimidated by walking next to Brady. I mean, that's a challenging thing to do as you walk in 2014 and you're next to the greatest player of all time and you're trying to compete for a job with him. It takes a special kind of competitor. And I think that's what Jimmy is. And whatever happens on the field, Jimmy's durability is more of an issue than his ability. As he stays healthy, he's won a lot of games for San Francisco. He'll win a lot of games for Las Vegas as they surround him with the right cast. And I think it gives Josh a sense of comfort to know what Jimmy can do and what he can't do. And I think that's most critical when it comes to evaluating quarterbacks.
You mentioned that cast around him. Devontae Adams, also Jacoby Myers reportedly signing today. Yeah. So how much do you expect them to improve this year with that added crew around Jimmy G?
Well, they were close in a lot of games. I mean, full disclosure, my son's the offensive coordinator there, so I have a rooting interest in them winning games. But they were close in a lot of games and didn't finish, starting with Tennessee, starting with the Charger game, and then ending in Pittsburgh where they have a chance to win that game and they can't quite close it out. So, it's going to take their depth of the team. They've got to improve their defense, especially up front, defensive line. They've got to improve their offensive line. They have the 7th pick of the draft. Jacoby Myers gives them a slot receiver, something that they need. Now you say, where does Hunter Renfrow go? Well, Hunter Renfrow was hurt last year, didn't play as well as he needed to do. He's not a blocker. When you're in 3 receivers, you need an inside slot receiver that can block. Jacoby Myers is a really good blocker, so he gives them help for Josh Jacobs in the backfield. I think they certainly can improve. I think their improvement will be being able to close out games and win those tight games that they didn't win last year.
Yo, how surprised were you that the Ravens decided to go with the non-exclusive franchise tag there for Lamar Jackson?
No, I wasn't surprised at all. It's the smart play because I think, look, if you're going to negotiate with Lamar Jackson's mom, which is a challenging endeavor, you're going to have to figure out, okay, I got to get a contract with him and then I've got to satisfy the Ravens. Just because they put 2 number 1s on him doesn't mean that's what it's going to cost. So what they basically did with the tender is they saved themselves $13 million in cap room. And then they basically said to the National Football League, if you want to deal with them and you want to do a contract with them, call us first. And I don't think the phone's ringing. Atlanta signed Taylor Heineke today as their backup. They're going to go with Desmond Ridder. I don't understand that. I mean, last year they were all in on Deshaun Watson, thought they had Deshaun Watson, and now this year they don't want a quarterback like Lamar Jackson who's better than Deshaun Watson. Interesting. But I think teams are more reticent to want to get away from spending the $50 million on a quarterback for cap purposes when they have to fix the rest of their team. I think that's the huge concern. A quarterback on a rookie contract is really appealing.
Michael, which team do you expect to pick up the phone and potentially call the Ravens about Lamar Jackson?
I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I don't see it happening. If it's going to happen, it would happen in the first few days. But, I anticipated, I thought Miami might be interested because he wants to play in Miami. See, when you're a team on the outside here, you have to satisfy two masters. You've got to satisfy the Baltimore Ravens and you've got to satisfy the Jackson family. You've got to do a contract and you've got to work out a trade. That's a hard thing to navigate without an agent. Yeah. Look, Lamar Jackson went 32nd in the draft. He didn't have an agent. We saw Trey Lance go 3rd pick in the draft. Now, who had a better collegiate career, Trey Lance or Lamar Jackson? That's not even debatable, right? That's not debatable. But Lamar didn't have anybody to help him. Lamar didn't have an agent. His mom was representing him, and he sat in that poor green room for 31 picks. He was a better player than a lot of guys that went, but there was no system that was in place to evaluate him and really get close to him. So I think that's hurt him, and I think it's hurting him right now.
All right, well, Austin Eckler's reportedly requested permission to explore trade options. Apparently, those extension talks have stalled a little bit. Where would he land? Could you see him ending up?
Oh, I think he's a really good player. I think he's he's a little bit like McCaffrey, right? I think he can do so many things. And he's just not a in the backfield runner. He can line up and play receiver. The key to football really is being able to substitute without substituting. What does that mean? That means you're in one tight end, 2 running backs, and 2 receivers. Okay, we call that 21 personnel or base personnel. But then you can get to 3 receivers like what the 49ers can do. They put McCaffrey out there, and they have another running back in the backfield. Eckler gives you that versatility. That makes you very hard to defend. And what the Chargers didn't do, the Los Angeles Chargers didn't do, is they didn't have another running back to play along with Eckler. Eckler's better when he's the alternate back. Really, he's able to make a difference. I think a lot of teams should be interested. But again, it's satisfying the contract because you've got to make sure that you pay him. I don't think the Chargers are going to hold you ransom because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year anyway.
I mean, it was a busy first day of NFL free agency here, Michael. Who do you think improved the most yesterday? We saw how active the Bears were.
Well, I mean, being active and improving are 2 different things. I think the 49ers had the strike of the day. First of all, they're the most dominant defensive front in all of football. And they signed the best defensive inside rusher, Anthony Hargrave. And they built strength on strength, which I think is the key in football. You've got to build strength on strength, and that's what they did. It's going to be hard to block San Francisco with Bosa, Armstead, Kinlaw, and now you've got Hargrave inside, Curry High, all these guys that they're bringing at you. That front is dominating. And adding a blue chip player like Hargrave, to me, was smart. And then I think Sam Darnold was a really nice addition for him. I know Sam Darnold's got this perception out there, but watch what Kyle Shanahan does with Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold will be really good in that system. He gives them a veteran guy that they could play if Purdy's not healthy to start the season, which tells you they're just not going to ride and die with Trey Lance.
Michael, before we let you go, obviously we said it was a super busy day, but which under the radar move was your favorite that maybe hasn't been super talked about here?
That's interesting. I think, when you look over the league and you see what like you say, that's a really good player. I think it's kind of the combinations of things. I think Cleveland signing Tomlinson really helps their front. I think Jim Schwartz is the new defensive coordinator. That gives them a better defensive front structure to fit their defensive line. And then adding Dalvin Tomlinson, I think, is a huge get for the Browns. I think that really helps them. They were in a lot of close games last year as well. And I think that problem, they couldn't close it out. And that front was an issue. So I like that under the radar move. I think that's good. But again, there's so much out there that hasn't happened yet. I know we're in New England. The Patriots have a lot of oars in the fire today. We'll see how it comes out. They're trying to slowly improve their team. They've got $100 million of cap room next year, plus all this cap room this year. I think there's a lot of moves to be made yet.
Michael, it was great having you on the Sweat, man. Thanks for being here.
Always good to be here. Thank you, Emerson. It's always good to see you again, Jess. Good to see you too. Hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe.
All right.
Thank you.
Will do, man. Right back at you. I know behind Michael, I'm sure there are a lot of happy Golden Knights fans right now because that hockey team, 3-game winning streak, Jonathan Quick and company atop the Western Conference right now. Can they hold on to that top spot in the West? NHL.com's Anna Duell will join us next to preview tonight's packed sticky puck slate.
All right, good job, guys.
Nice work, everybody.
Love it.
Eggs. Time to talk about the National Hockey League. The Bruins have been dominating the Eastern Conference, but the top spot in the West is very much up for grabs. As you can see, incredibly close, especially at the top between the Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. I mean, we are neck and neck here.
Oh, yeah.
So to help us talk about it, NHL.com's Anna Dua is joining the program. So we're going to do a DFS preview. We got a massive 12-game NHL slate tonight. But Anna, before we get into it, who's winning the West? It is so close right now.
It's truly up for grabs, like you said. I'm taking a closer look at the Dallas Stars. I really like where they're at. I think they made some good moves at the trade deadline, really enhancing their offensive depth. And also the LA Kings. I think they addressed the biggest issue that they had in terms of their goaltending situation. They have a super talented team. They've been dealing with some injuries as of late this past week and a bit. So they're going to bounce back from that. And I think they could seriously contend to finish at the top of the West.
Well, we've got 12 games on the slate tonight. It's beefy, it's meaty. Your favorite center, who's it going to be? Connor McDavid's obviously there at the top of the board at 10-1, then a huge salary gap between he and the rest of the group.
I'm actually going to take a little bit of a lower spend in my center position and staying out west and looking at a team that's definitely not anywhere near the top of the conference, the San Jose Sharks. And I'm looking at Tomas Hertl, who's at 5,200 tonight against Columbus. He scored a goal in 4 of his past 5 games. In each of those 4 games, he's had 5 shots on net. So he's playing really, really well right now individually. I like this matchup for the Sharks. They're playing against a Columbus Blue Jackets team that's allowing the 4th most goals per game in the NHL right now.
All right, take us to the wings and things department. Pasta, the most expensive guy in the slate, 9,100. Where are you going here? You going to spend up or save some money on the wing?
I think this is where I'm going to spend up. I'm not usually a spender, but Pasternak is just asking for it tonight. They're playing the Blackhawks, so I really, really like that matchup for him. Having a phenomenal year right now. If Connor McDavid didn't exist, he would be leading the league in goals. He has 46 in 65 games so far this season, just setting the Bruins up for success in this matchup. So I think you have to go Pasternak no matter how expensive.
So then what's the strategy back on the blue line? Same story, different night. Roman Josi at the top, and then everybody else.
I'm now saving a bit since I spent so much on Pasternak and taking a look at Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers playing against the Ottawa Senators. He has points in 3 of his past 4 games. 6 points in that span, has an expanded role since Tyson Barrie got traded at the trade deadline. He's on that elite top power play unit for the Edmonton Oilers right now with McDavid, Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, and Zach Hyman. So a lot of secondary production potential there. Edmonton obviously has the best power play in the entire league. They've been having that all season long. So I'm looking at Bouchard specifically on the man advantage.
All right, Anna, you got to slot some value into your lineup here. So where are you finding it on this slate?
We started off the show by talking about Dallas, so I'm ending it with Dallas and taking a look at their young center, Wyatt Johnston, who's at 3,500 against the Vancouver Canucks. He's centering their second line with Jamie Benn, Evgeny Dadonov. I really like the addition of Dadonov for the Stars. And Johnston had a 2-point game last night. He scored a goal in 3 of his past 5 games, his points in 7 of his past 9 games. The Canucks are allowing the 2nd most goals in the NHL this season, so a favorable matchup for Johnston and the Stars.
All right, Anna Dua, great having you here. Way to hold it down so low. Buffalo, we've got the Lightning, so leaving the Tampa Bay area to visit the Devils tonight. And so the PGA Tour is like, okay, we're going to slide into town here because
slip on in.
The Florida Swing will wrap up the Valspar Championship. They're in the Palm Harbor area, the Tampa area, at Innisbrook Resort and Copperhead Course. It's a tough one. Sam Burns looking to win this event for the third straight year. He'd be the first to accomplish a three-peat at the same event since Steve Stricker did it. Man, the John Deere Classic from 2009 to 2011. Let's dive into some of the Valspar odds right now with the Action Network's Jason Sobel. Good morning. It's good to have you here. How was your trip out at TPC Sawgrass? How was your week out there?
I had a great week, Emerson. I wish you could have joined me there. I don't know if you've ever been to the greater Jacksonville area, but it was fantastic.
Yeah, he's from Stowe. He's from Vermont, so he's not terribly familiar with Florida. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I got married at that course down there.
Yeah.
It's
a
great time.
You have some memes.
I wish you were there, Jason. So we're going to transition from TPC Sawgrass here again to the Copperhead course. So it's famous here for the finishing 3 holes, dubbed the Snake Pit. You got a couple par 4s, very tough par 4s. You got a long par 3 sandwiched in between. What kind of golfers here should the people be looking to bet this week?
Yeah, if your closing stretch isn't named after a menacing animal, I don't even know what you're doing these days. So, yeah, they call it the Snake Pit. It's the Copperhead course. I am looking for players who are good tee to green. I know we say this 95% of PGA Tour venues, week in, week out, we're like, I like good ball strikers. Well, yeah, if you don't hit the ball well, you're usually not going to score well. You're usually not going to finish very high on the leaderboard. It's more important this week than just about any other week, though. Last year, of the top 12 players tee to green for the entire week at the Valspar, 10 of them finished inside the top 12 on the leaderboard. And so, essentially, if you're not hitting your driver and your irons well throughout the week, you are not going to be on that leaderboard, is what we found in the last few years. And so I'm looking for players who can hit their golf ball.
All right, 2 best buds at the top of the odds board. Justin Thomas, the favorite at plus 1,100. Jordan Spieth plus 1,200. Obviously, odds are pretty close here. Yeah. So which guy would you rather bet? Which one of these guys is going to be striking the ball for you?
They are friends. That's a good point. I hadn't really realized that before. Normally, if you give me the option of Justin Thomas just 1 point shorter than Jordan Spieth, I'm going with Justin Thomas most of the time. Not this week, though. I've seen something in Jordan Spieth. I feel like Jordan Spieth over the last month has been a race car driver who's saying, hey, let's get this baby up to whatever speed we can get it to, and if we crash and burn, we crash and burn. And what I mean by that is he's playing very aggressive. He'll make a bunch of eagles. He'll make a few double bogeys here, a couple of big numbers, but he's sort of just seeing where the ceiling is and can always dial it back. In his last stroke play event going into the Masters, he's also got the match play next week. I think Jordan Spieth is about to dial it in and really get his game ready. All the world's best players say they want their game to peak 4 times per year. I think Jordan does a very good job of remaining patient until we get to those 4 times. His game is yet to peak yet this year, even though he's played some very good golf. I expect him to start peaking very, very soon.
All right, behind those 2, Matty Fitz. But then, Jason, you may have heard there's a 2-time defending champion here. His name's Sam Burns. Why is he so good here?
Great question. It comes down to, first of all, tee to green, like I talked about. He's a tremendous ball striker. And then Bermuda Burns puts really well on these Bermuda greens. In fact, over the last handful of years, I saw a tweet from Justin Ray not long ago, the stats guru for the 21st group, who said Sam Burns is far and away the best putter on the Florida swing over the last few years. And so that's a pretty nice combination to have right there. That said, Sam Burns has not played his best golf recently. In his last 3 starts, 2 missed cuts and a share of 35th place last week at the Players. I like him. I don't love him as much as you might have for the last 2 years when he won this golf tournament.
Literally, as you're answering that, he goes from plus 1,800 outright to plus 1,600 outright. Oh. So you like him more there, top 5 plus 400 or top 10 plus 200. Clearly, you're not taking him for outright.
I like him better at plus 1,800 than plus 1,600. How's that sound? No, I don't mind the top 10 play on Sam Burns this week, but still, everything across the board is too short for me. I am fading him this week.
All right, Justin Rose, Justin Suh, Danny McCarthy, few guys who finished in the top 20 at TPC Sawgrass. They're in the field again this week. So which one do you feel could bring it again at the Valspar?
Like them all. I'm not fading any of them, really. I want to have a little piece of all of them in some way, but Justin Suh is the guy that really has my attention. He's gained strokes tee to green. Remember that statistic again. He's gained strokes tee to green in each of his last 7 starts, and 4 of the last 5 have been like a stroke and a half per round. I mean, he is really golfing his ball very, very well. He was 5th at the Honda Classic 3 weeks ago, 24th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational 2 weeks ago, and 6th at the Players Championship last week. That's a whole lot of good golf for a guy who had very high expectations when he turned professional 4 years ago, turned pro with a bunch of other big-name players. He was sort of the one that languished and was left behind, but he's starting to come into his own now. He's going to be a good player for a very long time, and I can see him winning this golf tournament.
Jay, you wrote up Akshay Bhatia at plus 9,000 as one of your favorite long shots here. He's now plus 13,000 on the DK Sportsbook. So you like him as someone who could possibly win this thing. What do you like, though, about this 21-year-old kid?
He's maturing. He's coming into his own, and especially on this golf course, has a little special meaning to him. I was there 4 years ago when he made his PGA Tour debut as a 17-year-old. The second question in the press conference was from a reporter asking, "How will you handle adversity?" And Akshay's response was, "Can you explain adversity to me?" Like, literally and figuratively, he did not know what adversity was. He has now dealt with some adversity in his pro career, even though he is still only 21 years old. He has now gotten special temporary membership through a runner-up finish at the Puerto Rico Open a couple of weeks ago. That should take a weight off his shoulders, and I think that being freed up, and we all know how talented he is, this could be a very good week for him.
All right, Jason, let's hear it. Who is your pick to win?
Ooh.
So I hate to go with a short number, but we look at the top of this field. I would say Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Sam Burns, Matt Fitzpatrick. Wow, pretty good field the week after a big event. You start getting below the top 10 or 12 on that board, though, and it gets pretty slim. So I don't mind sticking to the top. I think there's more value there. Jordan Spieth, who I spoke about a few minutes ago, at plus 1,200, I think is a really nice play. I wanted the number to be a little bit longer. It's just not going to get there, but I think Jordan Spieth is ready to go out and win something before we get to the Masters in a few weeks.
You're not going to take that grueling trip down I-4 from Orlando to the event this week?
How many events you want me to cover, man?
Come on, man. Get out there.
Players need a week off, too.
Oh, God.
Players.
Stop it. All right, we love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yep, love it.
That's a show, everybody. We're back in studio tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I'm excited. We'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of your day.